Stories are got from the small, ignored parts of life, which speak volumes to the people in terms of how they would want to understand themselves, discover themselves, and see potential and build on that potential and succeed in life. I have been able to shape my narrative or shift my perspective from event-led stories to real-time or real-life impactful stories.
So we were going out to let people tell us. It's like we're giving a voice to people to tell us that I know I experienced challenge 1, 2, 3, 4, but also on this other side, these were the benefits.
The skew for this project was that it was stories of hope. The project reached out to various media houses, whether they were legacy media houses, community-based media organizations, online media organizations, and said, here are stories, here is content, specifically around Covid-19, specific to Eastern Africa, especially Kenya and Uganda. So it was really important for journalists from this part of the world to be able to tell the stories in the local language, in the local context, and speak to really what was happening on the ground and speak to a really granular impact.
So I think the Stories of Hope project has been really brilliant. It's helping young aspiring journalists to hone their skills and really build their careers at a time when unemployment has been rife. I also love the fact that it's all focused around telling positive stories and stories of hope, particularly at a time when these have been few and far between in the media.
In the newsroom, you go, you find a lot of negative news. Every day when you don't take a negative news, they will think like your story is not big enough. People did not embrace solution journalism. So when I saw this project, I said, I think this is going to be really a fertile ground for me to learn more about solution journalism. And at the end of the day, maybe I can tell my colleague that journalism is not all about exposing something to the public. But if you're exposing it, if you're bringing the story, how are you offering solution in the story? How can you offer the solution in the story that you have brought? So like when I came to the project, I was so passionate about embracing more skills about solution journalism. But during the time for orientation, when there was that orientation, I had a lot of things that we were going to learn, and I said, wow, this is going to be an overdose of my expectation.
I have been able to learn, and I've done outputs in these formats that I didn't know how to do before. Like I have produced a story on social media. I have produced a story in what is it called? The audio, yes, podcasting. I have produced a story in video, but still online and digital processes. I produced a story using mobile journalism techniques, and that is a success. I had no such portfolio before this project. Yet I was a trained journalist, but I had no such portfolio. But now I have a portfolio.
The one that I can say was impactful is the story on the media drift. We are no longer into that traditional aspect of media. The whole industry is shifting to the digital era. And that alone has come with a lot of impact in the industry. It has caused more tears to journalists that were not prepared for it. I remember working on that story, and I had to interview some of my colleagues, senior guys in the industry, and I didn't expect that such a thing can happen to them, because they admit that they were not prepared for it.
Yeah, when we undertook the needs survey, we were expecting to hear, that these journalists want in-depth reporting skills on health reporting, especially given the nature of the project. But what we found instead was that they were more interested in multimedia digital storytelling skills, and they wanted to somehow merge that with the health reporting skills that they had already gathered being experienced journalists over the last few years. So when we did the needs analysis, we found that data journalism, mobile journalism were areas of priority, and we needed to now design a training program that intersected health reporting and maybe health data with these new skills like data journalism.
For me, I would say my background in journalism is radio and print. But for TV, I've never participated before. And this is a new skill which I acquired during this training season, like editing videos, recording videos. And for your information, during this training, this was the first time for me to produce a video, and also using a simple gadget like phone.
I had never done a podcast. So it has really been one of my best because I had to learn a lot. It took me how you can edit this. While you're editing, any effect you put speaks a lot to the story and a lot of things. So I think that has been one of my favorite sessions because it has been a new thing to me. I wouldn't say I learned it at college. I did not. It was the first time I was trying to learn about podcasts. But I think right now I can say I'm better.
The training we offered was not only going back and recapping stories around social media engagement, for example, but it also showed them how they could use the skills they learned in the context of the stories they wanted to tell. So it was a practical use application-based methodology.
I have applied the skills I acquired in my day-to-day life because my life revolves around storytelling. So through this project, I have even shared the skills with other journalists, with my fellow colleagues who are not part of this project. And I am glad because about 2 of my colleagues saw sense in what I have been trying to explain to them, and they applied for the master classes and they got some trainings through courtesy of this particular project. And now they are also like, hey, Betty, thank you so much, umetusaidia sana, because they feel like ulituambia you have learned 1, 2, 3, and we really also wanted to learn it, and we took a step, and we are glad to learn.
One of the phases which I enjoyed in the project the most was the pitching process, where the journalist pitches the story ideas and it undergoes this brainstorming session, and we find different ways of tackling or going about the story. We find new insights about it, as well as we can flip the story completely and it comes out differently. And at the end of the day, the journalist has a clear and strong articulation or understanding of how to approach the story development process. So when they're going out in the field, they're looking for stories. What sort of questions should you have in mind? Also, that's a really it's a fun phase which I enjoy.
My most favorite story, it's taken the most time, but I wrote a story about this individual, the education sector in Uganda, at the art education part of the education system of Uganda. And I told it through this friend of mine, this character that I met in 2020 during lockdown. And being able to do that story and maintain that person's realities, which were very inspiring to me as well, has been my favorite experience. It's taken a lot of learning to do that story, but it's been my favorite story to work on.
And projects like this, grants like this, provide people with the ability to understand that the work that they do, even if it is starting out, is important, has value, and has a place in the work environment in a world that is continuously disrupted. Not only have we trained 18 field journalists, 9 from Kenya, 9 from Uganda, over the course of the project life, but we also saved money from the project, enabling us to train over 150 non-field journalists, but journalists associated with the project. As the Stories of Hope project draws to a close, it would be remiss not to say a big thank you to our funders, the European Union, and to AKF, Aga Khan Foundation, for the support that they have shown for the duration of this project. The ease and adaptation that both AKF and the EU gave us has allowed us to create a much larger impact than we had previously expected. It is this impact, it is this reach that has allowed people to recognize the importance and value of projects like this, and has gotten them to come back to us and say, is there going to be another iteration of this project? Can we join? Is there any way I can contribute? And this was the reason when we had our masterclasses that said, okay, let's create some sort of format where people who attend the masterclasses can also use the skills that they've learned to create stories. So the need for money is there, but it is also the people are interested in showing off the skills that they have learned in the trainings that they receive. So thank you to our funders, thank you to all our partners. It has been a pleasure working with you, and we really do hope another iteration of this project will be forthcoming. And to, of course, my colleagues at AKU and at GSMC, to our project coordinator and our project editors, thank you so much for all your help. To all our FJs who have been invaluable in the feedback they've given us, in the support that they've shown over the project life, thank you so much. And congratulations to everybody on this project for an extremely well-rounded and well-recognized project.